The last few days have seen 4 people with shady ties to the notorious Kinahan Cartel walking around Dublin streets again. This has caused a lot of worry among the city's police and residents as their pictures go viral on social media. Scott Capper and Andrew O'Keefe, 2 people with deep ties to the criminal underworld, have just gotten out of Dublin's Mountjoy prison, and their freedom has clearly once again cast a shadow of fear over the city's streets. Liam Branigan, a high-ranking Kinahan Cartel boss, and Dean Howe, another person with ties to the criminal group, are also set to get their freedom back soon, which is even scarier. But how exactly are they allowed to roam the streets with such a strong criminal background? And what did they do to end up there in the first place? These people's release makes some wonder how well Ireland's criminal justice system works, and what problems the government has to deal with in their never-ending fight against organized crime. There are people in this story who have gone down a dark path, leaving a wake of violence and fear, and who are now free to continue their criminal activities. Scott Capper, a thug from Finglas who is 28 years old, used to be close with Mr. Flashy, a gang. Capper was well known for being a police officer in the crime underworld. The bold theft of a €50,000 cash box from a security guard got him 2.5 years in prison, followed by 3.5 years for 2 violent attacks. He was released early from prison. Because of how bad his crimes are, they serve as a stark warning of how cruel organized crime can be. On the other hand, people who know about the dangerous actions of the Kinahan Cartel are scared when they hear the name Andrew O'Keefe. For failing to kill Kane Kerwin, O'Keefe was given an 8-year prison term and was freed after serving 5 years. His freedom, along with Capper's, has shocked everyone in the community. On social media, both guys proudly posted about their newfound freedom. Their actions on social media are similar to those of Capper and O'Keefe, who both shared selfies from prison, taken with cell phones that were somehow brought into the prison illegally. The fact that these actions were so open is a stark reminder of how hard it is for prison officials to keep order in places where criminals are still doing their things. Capper and O'Keefe's releases are scary enough on their own, but Liam Branigan's return to the streets has shocked everyone in law enforcement. Branigan got out of Port Louis prison after spending 6 years of an 8-year sentence. He is related to famous mobster Fat Freddie Thompson and Liam Byrne. Investigators found him to be at the center of the wheel of a plan to kill Gary Hanley, which shows how dangerous the Kinahan Cartel's activities were. When police arrested Branigan in 2017, it was a big win because he was a key associate of mob boss Daniel Kinahan. He was caught after heavily armed police stopped a van just 500 yards from Hanley's house and arrested hitmen Joseph Kelly and Luke Wilson, who were carrying a loaded semi-automatic gun. Through encrypted messages sent with the hitmen, Branigan's part of the plan became clear. After only 20 minutes, he was stopped at Hanover Court for throwing away something lit up, which was probably the phone that would be used against him. Branigan's release, despite the seriousness of his crimes, shows how complicated the Irish judicial system is. The Special Criminal Court gave him a sentence in 2020, but because he had been in jail since 2017, he was freed early. This makes me wonder if the rules for sentencing are fair, and if the justice system can make sure that dangerous criminals are locked up for the right amount of time. The criminal past of Andrew O'Keefe is just as scary. In 2017, he was found guilty of carrying a 9mm Beretta pistol with a silencer in a way that seemed odd. Authorities thought that this gun was meant to be used in a plan to kill Kane Kerwin, who was the son of Noel Duckegg Kerwin, a Hutch friend who was killed in another evil plot. The arrest of O'Keefe was marked by an exciting event in which 7 shots were fired by Gardaí at a speeding van. During the dangerous chase, O'Keefe threw away the loaded gun that was hidden in a plastic Dunn Stores shopping bag. There was a crime group called Finglas that was very close to the Kinahan Cartel, and Scott Capper was a big part of that group. A criminal from West Dublin known as Mr. Flashy had him as a right-hand man and henchman. Capper got 2.5 years in prison for stealing a €50,000 cash box from a security guard. This crime is now on his record. Besides that, he was in jail for 3.5 years for 2 counts of assault causing harm, which happened in October 2016 in Temple Bar and involved attacks on innocent people. Capper's lawyer, John Fitzgerald SC, told the judge that his client used to be a good football player and had even tried out for several top English soccer teams. Unfortunately, a knee injury cut short his potential sports career, and his life began to spiral out of control. Capper became severely dependent on cocaine and spent as much as €500 a day on it, which made his fall deeper into the criminal underworld even more solid. Dean Howe is another figure that looms in the background of this unsettling story. He is about to go back into society after spending 4.5 years of a 6-year sentence for planning to kill Gary Hanley. During his trial, the Special Criminal Court heard that Howe worked for the Kinahan crime family and took orders from the group's top leaders and passed them on. His part was very important because he carried out orders from the cartel's higher levels, showing how organized and well-planned the cartel was. The judge who sentenced Howe in 2020, Justice Tony Hunt, said that Howe's actions had put him in charge of this elaborate plan. The fact that Howe is about to be released adds another level of complexity to the crime world and shows how hard it is to keep important people in organized crime networks from working for a long time. These people have a long history of crime, and one thing that keeps coming up is their ties to the Kinahan Cartel, which is linked to violence, drug dealing, and organized crime. Despite the constant efforts of law enforcement, this criminal group has been able to keep its grip in Dublin's underworld. The cartel has a lot of power and impact outside of Ireland. This makes it a very dangerous enemy in the fight against organized crime. Concerns about Ireland's criminal justice system's ability to fight organized crime have been raised again by the release of these people. It makes some wonder about standards for sentencing, the parole process, and the rehabilitation efforts made available to inmates. The justice system tries to find a balance between punishment, deterrence, and rehabilitation. However, the fact that people who are highly involved in criminal networks are being let go makes people question whether these measures are working. In the case of Scott Capper, his fall into crime after a bright career in sports shows how important it is to help people who are at risk as soon as possible. Getting rid of the things that make people do bad things, like drugs and differences in income, is an important part of any big plan to fight organized crime. Even though Liam Branigan was a key part of the Kinahan Cartel's plan to kill Gary Hanley, he was released. This shows that sentencing rules aren't perfect, and that people can get out of jail early based on time served.